Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. Now, like it or not, we are living in a world where every business was forced to go remote almost overnight and at scale a few years ago. And now, a few years later, we're now exploring the world of hybrid work. But behind all of this is the need for more tech. And not necessarily sophisticated big tech solutions, but even things like accessories. But where do you get this kind of equipment at scale? For example, let's look at hybrid work. Going to require a laptop, microphone, webcam. How do you manage all that kind of equipment at scale? And how do you ensure that they're all compatible with each other and that they've got the right dongles and leads and all those other things? And also, while doing all that, how do you manage it at scale while improving the experience and keep those support calls and those support requests low? Well, today I've invited David Sholkovich onto the podcast, and he's from StarTechs, which is dubbed as the IT professional's trusted source for connectivity accessories. So I think we're in the right place. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Boston, where you can join me and David in conversation. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about how you got here and ultimately share your origin story with everyone?
All right. Thanks, Neil. Yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity to be here today. My name is David Sholkovich. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at StarTech.com. I've been with StarTech.com about a year and a half. And just real quick on the company, StarTech.com manufactures IT connectivity accessories. And our tagline is making hard to find easy. So essentially, we focus on making the IT professional's job easy to select, find, and buy IT connectivity accessories. So we've got about 4,000 different products. From docking stations to adapters to racks, front office and back office, mostly hardware products. So I've been at StarTech about a year and a half. Prior to that, with a couple of startups in Boston in the pro AV space, and actually in the sound masking technology space here in Boston. And most of my career actually spent at T-Mobile and Deutsche Telekom, both in the United States, working on marketing programs and product launches, and also in Germany with Deutsche Telekom, where we helped steer and launch products, handsets across 13 different countries in Europe. So a lot of experience in product marketing and technology. I'm a product guy. Love new technologies. And I also love really understanding how they make customers' lives better and really focusing on the value that customers get out of that. So wide range of different marketing experiences around the US and in Europe. And what attracted me to StarTech.com was really the co-founders' focus on really building a company around the customer and serving the customer's needs, and very attracted to StarTech.com because of that focus on customer support, innovation, and really thinking about how can we solve the IT pros' needs every day, and how do we commercialize that as a company. And it's very interesting in this space to work for an IT, an accessories company that that has North American-based teams, support 24/5 service levels. So it's a really great company and great people, and I enjoyed working here.
Love that. And also the fact that you're a product guy that's passionate about using products to make people's lives and businesses' lives easy. So it certainly seems you're in the right place there because, as you said, StarTech is dubbed as the IT professional's trusted source for connectivity accessories. But there are so many different companies out there. So can you tell the listeners a little bit more about the kind of problems that you help them solve for your customers, and also what makes it a little bit different from other solutions, would you say?
Yeah, when we talk about solving the IT pros' needs and solving problems for the IT pros, we look at it at the product level for sure, but also across the whole buying journey for them. So when I talk about making it easy, it's really about finding products. So we focus a lot on product information online, right? And product information quality. So when I'm an IT professional and I'm sourcing a different, let's say a docking station or a cable, there's plenty of options out there. But what they need to know is those technical specifications that resonate with them. They need to know that it's reliable and compatible with their different operating systems or hardware OEM manufacturers that they've got, which are these days obviously tons of different options. So we talk about making it easy. It's like, how can I find the right product that I need based on the information? And honestly, most of that is online today. The second thing is availability, which has been a real big issue with obviously with the post-pandemic supply chain issues, right? Are products available? Can I get it shipped to myself or my work site on time? If that product's not available, is there an alternative product available that I can get? So we look at the product information quality that we produce, and that's in our content. The availability, that's really making sure that our logistics and supply teams and our resale partners in the IT space have the inventory available for our customers. And then the third part is we really talk about product performance. So we are not a consumer brand.
Yeah.
We are a B2B enterprise brand. So we are IT Pro products designed and developed by IT professionals, our own team of IT professionals in London, Ontario, and around the world. So we really look at the performance. And by performance, there's different angles to that. But compatibility, for sure, is this going to work with my Lenovo, with my Dell, with my HP, with my Mac, or with my Linux OS, or with my Surface, or with my iPad, right? There's all these compatibility issues when it comes to accessories, which we use every day. And then there's also, the reliability. Has it been tested? Is this just a product that I found on Amazon that I'm not sure I trust the origin of it, right? Yeah. There's lots of brands out there. So we try to make that very clear in our day-to-day practice, also in our communications to the IT professionals. So making sure that they're selecting trusted products from a trusted brand. And we've got a North American test lab where we bring in everything that we make and design ourselves. We test, whether that's heat testing, drop testing, bending the cables, making sure the enclosures fit, inserting, setting up different monitors, server racks, all that sort of stuff. We've got a really fascinating test lab that we put all of our products through. So it's kind of this rigorous performance testing, which helps us stand out from some of the competitors that are out there as well. And then ultimately help solve problems, because the last thing an IT professional wants is to buy products, especially in high quantity of products, deploy those to their workforce, and then there's an issue, right? That's something that you always want to avoid. So we put a lot of that emphasis on the product performance side of it, the testing, the QA, those sorts of things, and then as well as making sure the information is clear. And when it comes to specifications, we have 4,000 products, right? And you probably live this, and IT pros live this every day, where you're looking at something like USB-C, right? Yeah. We got Thunderbolt 4, and then you have display link and MST display technology, and all these different video display technologies. Just as an example, the complexity starts to multiply. And when you need to make a decision quickly, you want to know that you're picking the right product and you're getting it from the right vendor, and it's going to show up on time. And so that's really where we put our emphasis on as a company.
And it is incredibly challenging for businesses and indeed IT departments, because one of the biggest problems for businesses is typically or traditionally the IT departments have often been accused of being very siloed. Can you expand on the scale of that problem that you see as well?
Yeah, and I think that gets harder with the hybrid working system. I know you touched a little bit about that from the Cisco Live event, where hybrid working is the new working scenario. So you're not physically in person with the workforce that you're now managing, right? So we always had distributed workers in some degree for years, right? But now it's completely changed. So what we really look at is making sure that the IT professional has the tools that they need to be able to diagnose and solve a problem for a remote worker. And we have that through software utilities that we've got, where you can manage the actual docking station. So it's managed on the network and you can actually see how it's performing and running. But the key thing, I think, is in that silo approach is just making sure that the IT professionals, specifically in this example, I think is kind of the help desk and the tech managers, IT technicians, have the ability to kind of standardize around a suite of products that they know how to support, and they know how to support well, and that they can also help train the end users on. And there's more end user training in our hybrid or in our remote working environments, right? Where you're supporting both their desk and their workstation in the office, also obviously at home. And then now as workers hit the road when they're out and about. So the a focus that we put on really in the last couple of months is around building a community. So by community, I mean an online community with forum and knowledge base articles and a place to connect and where peers can solve problems. Our experts can jump in to help to solve problems. So I think it's really about information sharing at the end of the day. It's also about being able to kind of standardize on a suite of hardware products that the IT teams understand and know, and that and the training kind of that goes behind that. Speaking at more at a high level, in any department, whether it's IT or any other group, that cross collaboration between groups is obviously critical in the sharing of information. So any tools that can help to help do that are obviously very beneficial. But then also having kind of weekly checkpoints, right, on and some face-to-face time to help solve problems. But the biggest thing we see is everyone's digital, everyone's online. So making sure that the information guides, technical specifications in the IT space are available online for people to access.
And I must admit, that's one of the things that put you on my radar. One of the reasons I invited you on the podcast today, because you've got an almost different approach of I don't know, focusing on the importance of creating a community to break down those silos. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the importance of the community is really to have a place where people can engage freely at their own leisure, at their own time frame. So we're all really busy. So being able to connect through a webinar or a meeting is not always feasible. So we've rolled out a community platform, really with the main goals of helping IT professionals in our niche of hardware connectivity accessories, so really around that hardware space, be able to connect, engage with one another, ask each other questions, get support from our team. So it's staffed live by our experts as well, 24 hours. And then to be able to provide advice and to also create knowledge-based articles. So we get, I think, somewhere between 25 and 30 different questions per day about our different products, either through our website, through our Q&A, and different channels. And so what we do is we see those questions, and our technical teams and our content and our internal teams will then create a knowledge-based article to help answer that question, post it, put it out there publicly so people can discover it, and then be able to follow back up with the customer with that answer. But I think the key is using all these questions that we get to develop a really rich and detailed knowledge base of information that's easily searchable. It's another thing, easily discoverable, and let and make sure that you're enabling others to solve that same problem without having to go through that same loop again, right? Yeah. So if you can answer a customer's question, put it online, and that helps answer 50 other customer questions, you've deflected support calls, which is always a good thing. But two, you've enabled them to answer that question quickly without having to maybe call or email you or set up a time to talk. So it's about really the scale of information. But I think the key to that is making sure it's well organized and your target audience is very clear. So in our case, our IT pro community is really focused around IT managers and technicians who are rolling up their sleeves and doing integrations and installs. We actually focus a little bit less on the CIO and decision makers because we're an accessory product. And while that's important that the CIO may understand our brand and from a purchasing perspective, the people that really need the help are the installers. So it's kind of staying true to your core audience. And then also making sure that the content there is technical and geared towards them, right? Being very cautious of who your audience is, making sure that you answer their questions, but you don't kind of go off on a different angle from there, because the last thing you want to do with the community is make it about marketing and sales. That's not really what it's about. It's about support, problem solving.
I love that. And I love how something simple as a community forum can, yes, support the whole business and ask those questions, but also ultimately give IT departments support to save them asking those questions, reducing support calls, etc. But I'm curious, have you found that when IT pros themselves need support, that they actually prefer that self-service that can come from an online community forum rather than ringing somewhere up, being caught on hold, etc.?
I think it's a balance.
Yeah.
I think it really is a balance. And we're cautious not to go too digital, too self-service. Yeah. I've seen brands do that And we've all seen, especially in the consumer space, where you really make it difficult to talk to somebody to get to an answer. And I think that's not a good way to go. So we have a balance. And I think it really becomes down to the type of question that's being asked, whether it's a question that's been answered before at scale. Maybe, does this adapter work with this sort of laptop, right? So maybe there's some level of relatively simple questions that can be answered online. There can certainly be technical sort of white papers or info briefs on a certain application that we can post online. But I think there's a balance between personal live support and self-service support, and you got to be careful with that. So while we've scaled up our self-service support, we have not scaled down our live support and our live chat and our email. You can still reach out to us and we'll get back to you extremely quickly with a phone call. And that goes for anybody that reaches out to us, whether it's a consumer or an IT pro or a business user. While most of our audience is the IT professional, you of course get prosumers or content creators, right, who are at home and got a product and they have a question about it. So we treat everyone the same from that perspective. But what we try to do is prioritize the content that we create towards the IT professional, and it's a little bit more technical in nature. So I think that's a great question. I think there's a balance that brands have to strike between supporting live support and self-service support. And our strategy is to ramp up self-service support without taking away the live support feature, because we have a very high level of satisfaction. And that has been because over the 35 years in business, we have had a live call center in North America, in Europe, and in APAC. In local markets where we answer the phone and we actually solve your problem. And my gosh, that is just the best way to drive loyalty, right? And it's all different. It really depends on the situation and the scenario.
So if we have a business leader listening to our conversation today and they're motivated by two things at the moment on their list, one is improve the experience that IT department offers the business and provides the business, and two, reduce the number of support calls coming in for things like this. Where should they begin building a community and building a community forum? Is there any advice that you would offer around that?
I would certainly start with your objectives and your goals, right? I mean, I think if it's call deflection, right, because your support teams are understaffed right now, right, with labor issues, and you need to deflect some calls out of the gate, then you want to put your focus really on answering those top 100 questions online and put that on your community forum. Don't gate it. Make it available for anybody to be able to discover and solve their problem. So I think that's one. I think the piece of it too is just really having a clear, so you set that objective. So who is your audience and how you're going to solve their needs. And then I think it's really just sticking true to that and being honest with the content that you create to make sure that it resonates with your audience. So as an example, we'll try to, anything we write, we really start with what the problem is that we're trying to solve. If it's, let's say, a knowledge base article, and then we elaborate from there. We don't just say things you need to know about HDMI or Thunderbolt 4 or display link technology. We really start with an application or a scenario, which and then be able to outline the steps to solve that online. So my advice at a high level is set goals for it. Really know your audience, who you're going after. And then make sure the content matches who your audience is and what they actually need, not what you think they may need or what the marketing team may say you need, right? Like it's really about what's going to help solve their problem and help drive loyalty with your brand. So the other third part I would probably add is just the organizational structure is really important. We talk about a platform and we talk about search. You really got to nail it in terms of your the platform, whatever you use, whether it's homegrown or you license some sort of software suite to do this, making sure that the search is just right on, so customers can search easily and find the article or the support that they need, and that the overall organization of whatever you create is easy to, from a user experience perspective, to find your way around. And the other piece too is that you want to let lurkers in, which are just people that need information about a product, and they may just solve their need. But then we also want to establish relationships with the more important customers. So if someone is asking a lot of questions, reach back out, maybe offline, and try to establish a relationship with them, because they may become a big customer that you've never seen before. So there certainly is a way to acquire new customers through a community as well, just doing it carefully in the right way. But I think at the end of the day, it can help really build loyalty, which at the end of the day drives your revenue, right, and your ability to invest in more programs. So yeah, I think it's just following really kind of that playbook to set it up is important.
And I suspect that, like any business, the needs of your customers 2 years ago compared to what they are now are completely different. So what's next for StarTech? What's your big focus right now?
Yeah, so in the IT connectivity area, we see a lot of growth potential just within that market.
Mm-hmm.
And you hit on it, right? Like things have changed completely, right? The number of widgets and devices and accessories that we now need to have multiple workstations has increased. That will at some point kind of normalize, I think. But for us, it's what other products can we bring through our channel, our distribution channels, where so we've got high satisfaction, high loyalty. We're known by a lot of companies for in certain areas. So they may buy all of their cables from us, all of their networking cables, or maybe they buy all of their docking stations from us. But the reality is we have 12 different product categories, 4,000 different products. So my focus as a marketing leader is to help create awareness about all the different solutions that we have and kind of become a single source vendor for our customers. We'll keep looking at product innovations, and when we talk about innovation, we're not necessarily the first to market with a brand new solution. That can often be the OEMs themselves that will roll something out, and it takes a lot of work. If it's a new connectivity solution, there's a chipset vendor involved. There's big OEMs involved to kind of standardize on it in this scenario. But what we do is we differentiate our products by really bringing to market something that's different and where there's probably not enough volume for the big players to be involved, but it solves the needs of an IT professional, whether that's more ports, more power, four monitors versus 3 monitors, 8K versus 4K resolution. We look at kind of the field and where we can differentiate and add performance to a certain component. And then we may have a lower volume at the end of the day of sales volume for that, but we have we'll build a loyal customer, we'll solve a need for them, and there's a market for it, frankly. So for us, it's really looking at what are those edge cases. I mean, our tagline is hard to find, made easy. So those hard to find solutions that are often not stocked by some of our competitors, we'll actually stock those products. We'll make them different, we'll make them unique, and we'll offer those up to our customers. So we're fortunate that we have a narrow target audience in terms of the IT manager and technicians. We're not playing in the consumer space. So we can make products that are more technical in nature, that have more premium features and capabilities to them, and go from there. So I think for us, it's expanding the roadmap and it's looking at new products that we can help bring through our channel by focusing on product information, availability, and our relationships that we already have with enterprise accounts and IT resellers.
Yeah, it's such a daunting time for many businesses. And some of the conversations I was hearing at Cisco Live last week was around hybrid working, some of the frustrations around that, the need for greater interoperability between different technologies. And also hybrid work is concerned. There's a lot of focus on simplifying that technology and almost giving customers a box of, this is a hybrid work box. This is the microphone that will give you better audio in that box. This is the better camera that will give you the better video quality. And then if your broadband goes down, your home broadband, you can fall back to a cellular connection with this router that we provide you with. And it's just simplifying that whole experience, isn't it, as well?
It is, yeah. I feel like the first year of the pandemic was kind of every man and woman fends for themselves, right? Yeah. Making sure you get your good audio set up and your Teams and your Zoom is working, your bandwidth is okay, and then you either had maybe you didn't even have a docking station. You kind of had one monitor and a laptop and a cable, right? Or you now have a multi-port adapter and you've got a couple devices connected to that. And I think now people are certainly like kind of to make it a little bit more permanent, right? And IT departments are looking at kind of standardizing on what is that out of the box solution? What does that look like from hardware? What does it look like from software? And then, of course, now the challenges of hybrid are tricky, right? When you have remote teams, you have live teams. So how do you drive collaboration both in person and remotely? And what sort of technology solutions do you have set up in that space to do that? So yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the hybrid working is it's not going anywhere. It's here to stay. And now is a really good time for IT teams to kind of standardize on what their solution will be in the future, and then to help kind of procure those products for the long term.
Yeah, there was a great stat I heard. I think it was something like 98% of meetings throughout the world will have at least one person outside the office and working from home. So that kind of tells you, you need to be more inclusive and get everybody involved to collaborate, no matter where they're located. But thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. Now, we did start talking about your origin story, what put you on this path. I'm now going to have a bit of fun with you and ask you to leave something for the listeners, whether that be a song that we can put on our Spotify playlist or a book that we can add to our Amazon wish list. I'll let you choose. All I ask is there a story behind your choice?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I will leave a book suggestion, and it's maybe one that your listeners have experienced before. But the one that I just finished recently and I love is The 4 Disciplines of Execution, and it's Sean Covey, Chris McKenzie book. And the reason I lean towards the 4 disciplines of execution is just because it really, I think where a lot of brands and companies from the marketing side kind of go wrong is in the execution of programs and initiatives. There's always great visions, objectives, goals, right? But where often companies fall short, it's on execution. And as someone that's worked in startups and really small companies from 10 people to 50 and now a much bigger size company, I think keeping that discipline of how you execute on programs is critical throughout your career, no matter how big you get or how many different, departments are in your company. So in the four disciplines of execution, the focus I really like is there's a lot of language in there, but the ones I really like is really focusing on those kind of wildly important goals that you need to set for your team. And then also kind of ignoring a lot of the noise. And I think it's the whirlwind that they saw, all those things that take your time, those 4 hours a day in meetings, and trying to just really focus on what's really going to matter. And I look 3 years back and what I accomplished and what we accomplished as a company, and really keeping those in mind. I think there's just a lot of distractions out there in business and personal life, and focusing on how you're going to execute. What are those real key drivers and those leading indicators that you're going to use to measure against that is kind of valuable. So I know it kind of sounds a little bit boring and a little bit businessy. On the personal side, I've got lots of good recommendations as well. But I think for me, it's really focusing on that execution of programs, and that really makes the difference in terms of a company's success.
No, I think that's a great choice, and I will be adding that to the Amazon wish list. And before I let you go, for anyone listening just wanting to find out more about anything we talked about today, or dig a little bit deeper on StarTech and what you do there, what's the best starting point for everything?
The best starting point is StarTech.com, which is our website for all the information that you need, or community.StarTech.com, which is our community website as well, which I've talked a little bit about. So either one of those are great points to reach out, or you can also reach out to me on LinkedIn, of course. Personally, we would love to receive messages and get back to you in person.
Awesome. Well, I'll have those links on the podcast show notes so people can find you nice and easily. Love chatting with you today, learning more about your origin story. And also, I think it's so important, and we don't talk about it enough, the importance of creating community and how it can break down silos and ease the pressure on IT support sometimes as well. But thank you so much for sharing that with me today, David.
Thank you very much for having me today.
What a great conversation, and an absolutely great guy. I do hope to meet up with him at some point and grab a cold beer. But I'm curious, what we've talked about today will resonate with every single person listening wherever they are in the world. Just getting hold of simple IT equipment and accessories, and ensuring that everything goes to plan, and keeping everything ticking over, and providing that superior experience that employees expect now outside of IT. Requires a certain amount of joined up thinking and community. But how are you dealing with this and these challenges? Please let me know. Email me now, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn @Neil C. Hughes. Let's keep this conversation going. Let me know your experiences wherever you're working in the world. But it's time for me to spin the wheel of fortune. Today was all about equipment, accessories, and delivering those experiences. But what's it going to be tomorrow? Well, where the wheel stops will determine what we talk about tomorrow. But to find out where it stopped, you're going to have to join me again, I'm afraid. So same time, same place tomorrow. But thank you for listening as always. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.